Okay, well, without further ado, I'm going to turn the camera around. Emma, absolutely, brains count as technical issues, definitely. The gimbal's got a more sophisticated brain than me, I think, these days, or always. So where are we? Well, we are in a place we've been on a couple of tours, but it's nice to see it lit up. We are in what was, from medieval times, Oxford Castle. Then became the prison. And until the late 90s, it was the prison. But then part of the castle was restored as a visitor attraction, but this section was acquired by the Malmaison Hotel Group. And this part of the former prison was converted into a very nice hotel. So you literally will be in what used to be cells as you're staying in your lovely hotel rooms here. And, you're eating your breakfast in what used to be the prison dining room. But you can see this is a beautiful, a lovely spot here and beautifully lit up. Malmaison, bad house. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know why you would name a hotel chain that, but it is a chain of hotels here in the UK. I'm not sure if they're in other countries as well, maybe. They're not always in prisons. They often take over historic buildings and kind of reuse them. So a lovely building here with the Christmas tree. And the Oxford Castle complex, it's got a number of restaurants and bars in it, but so it's a nice Italian place. Nobody sitting outside. Had a nice lunch sitting outside here, this restaurant, with Emma and Sally Jane back in the summertime, but nobody sitting outside tonight, I notice. It's probably about 25 degrees cooler than it was that day. Chantel, we've started already, so hopefully you can see and hear everything. If not, you might need to refresh. And, on our tours of Oxford, we see a lot of the ancient college buildings, but there are modern college buildings that make up this fantastic university here, and this is one of them. I don't think this counts as one of the famous dreaming spires of Oxford. That was a phrase that was coined for the city back in the 1800s, but this is a college called Nuffield College, founded by a chap who was given the title Lord Nuffield, but his real name was William Morris, and he founded the Morris Car Company, which is a major employer in Oxford. The automotive industry very strong here, and he founded a postgraduate school of business and social sciences, a big endowment. It's also a very small academic community. It's believed that in terms of wealth per student, Nuffield College, Oxford, is the wealthiest academic institution in the world. Now, right next to the castle and the prison in the 1800s, this building was constructed, and this was where the courts were. So, if you committed a crime in Oxford, you were tried in there. They didn't have to take you far if you were found guilty, next door to the prison. Partly a courthouse, also the seat of the county council. So as well as being a city, Oxford is the seat of the regional government for the county of Oxfordshire. And this building was the courthouse and county hall, designed to look like a medieval castle, but it's less than 200 years old. Still partly in use by the city council, but they mainly have most of their administration these days in the modern building next door, which I'm sure is a much better place for the modern technology that they need to work with. But, well, it's not nearly so pretty, is it? County Hall. I prefer that version of County Hall. Don't know about you. I prefer that version. Oh, a lot of shouting. So we're going to head up into the main sort of modern shopping area of Oxford. And this area has been redeveloped a lot in recent years with the construction of the Westgate shopping centre, or the redevelopment of the Westgate shopping area. The name Westgate comes from the fact that the western gate in the walls of medieval Oxford was very close to this site. So Oxford, for hundreds of years, was a walled city. So the medieval core of Oxford had walls all the way around it with 4 gates at each of the 4 points of the compass. The western gate was very close to this area, and that's why the shopping centre is called Westgate. And as you might expect, it's got all the modern chains, and but it is very nicely decorated for Christmas. Have a Westgate shopping centre in Phoenix. Cool. Presumably not on the site of a medieval gate in the city wall, though. I'm just guessing. I don't know. Here's a lovely spot in Oxford for a coffee, a little snack, piece of cake. The Art Cafe. This is a nice sort of independent, locally owned business where they have sort of a gallery and promote local artists and creatives, as well as having a nice little coffee shop and restaurant. And they also have a lovely outdoor seating area that opens into the evening, there are some intrepid souls in there this evening. I know particularly in summer it's a lovely place to have a little coffee and a cake before doing something in the evening. So we're not going to go into the Westgate shopping centre because security guards in the shopping centres tend to be a little bit, keen to throw out people who are filming. Never throw out anybody taking selfies or, anything for Instagram, but as soon as you get a gimbal, overzealous, Tish, that's the word. I didn't want to say gung-ho, Donna, you're absolutely right. Nice cake there. So Westgate Shopping Centre. And there's a lovely little square here, which is called Bonn Square. So that's Bonn, B-O-N-N. And Bonn is a twin city of Oxford, a very historic university city in Germany, which for the time that Germany was divided in the later 20th century was the capital of West Germany. And this is called Bonn Square. The monument in the centre is a military memorial that is dedicated to soldiers from the Oxfordshire Regiment that lost their lives fighting in various campaigns, mainly during the times of the British Empire, so particularly in campaigns in India and in Africa. Jim, absolutely, birthplace of Beethoven, yep. His birthday was just days ago. I didn't realise his birthday was just days ago, but I have been to the Beethoven house in Bonn. It's well worth a visit. I don't know where the phrase gung-ho, it sounds probably, Oriental, Indian maybe, I'm not sure. Now, one of the things I love in Bonn Square is this little display of books. And these are about the partnership between the two cities of Bonn and Oxford. So they have words on the spines like trust, friendship, understanding, knowledge. And then on this pile, they have the same words in German. Freundschaft, Verständigung, Wissen, Vertrauen. So all of these words that very much symbolize what these city partnerships were all about. And lovely to see that. It's a little hidden gem, it's not that noticeable People who walk past it and never see it. That's why you have a guide, I suppose. Show you the things that you just walk past. Yeah, I guess that's my job. I do like the sparkly lights up on the top front of the West Gate. But I guess he's a reindeer. He's pretty nice. Yeah, I like him. Pretty cool he is. And I have something to tell you all as well. Good news. I am using my new phone. You may remember back in I don't know, early November, late October, my old phone that I used to do my tours on died a death after getting severely soaked in some biblical rain here in Oxford. And I got a new phone for filming, but there was a glitch somewhere with the link between the particular kind of phone and the Heygo app. And it meant that the picture kept flickering. And I don't know what's happened. I've kept everything updated all the time, but all of a sudden, I keep trying it every time. And today I did a little test and everything was fine. And I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to use it for the tour tonight. So we're using the new phone that I actually acquired so that I could film tours on it. Which means actually it's much easier for me to read the chat because the screen is bigger. I deliberately got a phone with a decent sized screen so I could read the chat better. And it also meant that the picture should be pretty good. It looks pretty good on my screen. That was my criteria for choosing the phone. Good sized screen and a good camera. So we're walking down Queen Street here, which is one of the main shopping streets. It's kind of pedestrianised, except for buses. So you're going to be walking along here, and every now and then you'll sort of hear a bus coming and you have to move out of the way. And of course, as always in Oxford, cyclists. That's the main mode of transport in Oxford. It's one of my favourite clothes shops. Fat face. But I love these stars. They seem to be a really kind of fashionable decoration this year. I've seen them in quite a few displays in shops and businesses, and I've also seen them for sale on a couple of the Christmas markets. But I think they're lovely. I love these stars. So, cyclists, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know, right, in Oxford. The main mode of transportation. If you're lucky, they have a bell. If you're very lucky, they ring it before they run into you. I'm very impressed with everybody with the knowledge of gung-ho. Emma, those stars hurt if they fall on your head point first. I somehow, that's not surprising that you know that. So a lovely chocolate shop here. Montezuma's extraordinary chocolate. I love the glass at the top. Look, I guess from a previous shop that's been on this site, I would suspect. But isn't that beautiful? Let the countdown begin. Big siren. Susan, you like their chocolates? I've never had them. I might have to try them sometime. Thank you.
I'm already giving away.
People ducking down under my... So we're right at the centre of the city. And this intersection, if you like, is called Carfax. And that comes from French, an old Norman French, when they were in charge here in England. And it relates to four, so quatre in French, forks. And for four forks, four directions you could go. And there are four main streets of Oxford that essentially led to the four gates of the city, in the city wall in medieval times. And so the four main roads converged here. And still very busy intersection. And we have the tower up there of St. Martin's Church. The church is long gone, but the tower is still there. And it's a really lovely viewpoint. If you come to Oxford, you can climb the tower and get some great views over the city. It's one of several towers that you can actually climb to get some great views. Okay, we're going to head off down the high street very briefly. On the main roads of Oxford. But you don't call it the high street. If you want to appear to be a local or even to be familiar with the city, you'd never call it high street. You would just call it the high. Yes, students, the teaching time has finished. So most of the students, yes, have vacated. But obviously a lot of sort of postgrads, research students and so on, academic staff are still around working within the university. But actually it was pretty quiet today, considering, how close we are to Christmas and people wanted to do their shopping and so on. It was very quiet today, especially in the sort of main areas around the university. Hopefully we'll get it's covered market. This is the entrance. Actually, I'm going to take you into the other entrance to the covered market because there's more to see. The covered market was sort of built in the 18th century. It was built to as a market hall to give an undercover place where people could trade and go and buy goods, rather than the old open air markets that would have been here since, well, probably around the 8th or 9th centuries. It's just about to close up, so I don't want to go too far in. I don't want to get locked in the covered market. But it's a beautiful covered market. Billy Ocean at the New Theatre, Oxford. So, Emma, you're a former student who goes to Oxford. Yeah, certainly the undergrads have gone home, first years especially. Maybe some of those who are doing dissertations and so on, they might still be around, getting a couple of extra days work in the library or whatever. But so covered market is a really, really lovely spot. And and today, I was going to go to my favourite stall in the covered market, and they commissioned some lovely sort of artworks to show them at market stalls. So I like to come down this particular one. My favourite stall in the market, I was going to go there and maybe treat myself to something today, which is the Oxford Cheese Company. But it seemed like everybody wants to sort out their Christmas cheese board, because on the twice I walked past to have a look, there were queues out of the stall, out of the market, up the street. I thought, no, I'll still be there when they close. I didn't end up getting myself any cheese, never mind. The stalls here. Hello, Robin, you're just joining us. Nice to see you. Hope you're well. So, yeah, here on the high, always busy, lots of shops, lots of restaurants, pubs, bars, and lots of traffic, because a lot of the streets in the city centre are pedestrianised, or, they're kind of medieval streets like that one that are too narrow for any large vehicles to get along. So the streets that are open to traffic, especially buses, they tend to be very busy. And the high is definitely one of those. Now, this is just been reopened as an Italian restaurant, but the building, look up there, there's a bishop's hat, which which is called a mitre. And that is the name of the building. It's traditionally been an inn called the Mitre. And there's been a building on this site, parts of which still remain as part of the structure since the 14th century. And then it became an inn, which was owned by a bishop. And that bishop donated the land where the inn was based to Lincoln College. So he was the Bishop of Lincoln. And when Lincoln College was founded here by that bishop, part of the income for the college was from running the inn. Now, in later years, the upper floors became a part of the student accommodation for Lincoln College, and the downstairs bit continued as a pub. And it's still in operation, but these days as an Italian restaurant. The pub closed during the pandemic, and now we're going to. I'm going to show you a beautiful shop. Now, this is a shop that Donna told me about today, and actually showed me. And if my wife were here, we'd be very glad they were closed. Because look at this. This is a beautiful stationery and gift shop called Scriptum. You feel like they should charge you an entry fee because it's such an Aladdin's cave of stuff. But it's beautifully decorated, but it's tiny. You have to squeeze past people. You know, you do a little dance. I'll go that way, you go that way. You have to be very careful not to knock off any of the products. There's beautiful pens and look at the model of the shop there within the shop. How cool is that? Really lovely, very expensive. But Sally Jane would love this shop, the stationery within there. These fantastic goods here. Lots more gifts than usual, I guess, at this time of year, as well as just the beautiful stationery and letter paper and notebooks and journals. I need to bring Sally Jane there. Yes, I do. I think she would be in heaven. Now, I mentioned Lincoln College, and Lincoln College is, I'll see it in a moment, but the building here, look at this beautiful building. This used to be a church, as I guess, I think you could probably guess. Donna, I think they close at 6, I think it said. So they're just about probably to close. So I think we're very lucky. They might turn the lights off in a few minutes. Now, this church was adjacent to Lincoln College, and the church itself closed. What happened in a lot of English cities in the 19th century, early 20th century, as transportation improved, people started to live in the suburbs, and rather than right in the middle of all the cities. So the churches that had previously had loads of people living around them who went there, they didn't have congregations anymore. So a lot of them, closed down. And this was one of them. But rather than, the church maybe being demolished or whatever, it was acquired by Lincoln College. Beautiful church that is now the library of the college. So this is now Lincoln College Library. There we go. Lincoln College Library in the old, beautiful church building. Isn't that fantastic? Tish, absolutely brilliant repurposing. Fantastic building, isn't it? So Lincoln College is on this site, founded by the Bishop of Lincoln back in the 15th century. Probably the most famous student associated with Lincoln College was the founder of the Methodist movement, John Wesley. This was where he was, or one of the Oxford colleges that he was associated with during his academic career here in Oxford. Oh, a couple of lovely shops here. Look, white. There were another ones that will be busy for Christmas. The whiskey shop. Now, this is just a street for my entire family, really, and friends. Sally Jane could go in the stationery shop. My best friend Brian would love the whiskey shop. Donna, do I know the origin of the word Turl? Yes, this street is called Turl Street. And it comes from, I'm not sure what the original word was, but there was a kind of like a turnstile, like you get on the way into a football stadium, that controlled access to the street hundreds of years ago. And that was where the name came from. I don't know what the original thing was called, but look, we got a great view back here. Look to the church. You can see the tower of it from here. A great view of the Lincoln College Library. Look at that, beautiful. So yeah, Turl Street. This is Lincoln College on the right-hand side. Not much activity around the colleges at the moment, that's because, most of the students have gone home. So they're not sort of operating as they would be doing during the term time. Yeah, and B, a lot of the trees still have the leaves. The weather this year has been... They were shedding leaves in the summer because it was too hot. Then we got to autumn and it was very mild, so they didn't shed their leaves. Oh, the clock chimes of 6 o'clock of Exeter College, and we're heading down the... Wow, this looks lovely, just with the lamps, doesn't it? This is called Brasenose Street, or maybe Lane. And this is a real kind of place where you feel like you're stepping back into the past. Thankfully, one thing that has changed is the fact that in the centre of the street, this is now paved. This would once have been an open ditch, which would essentially have been the sewer for the buildings and colleges around here. So it probably would not have been quite as pleasant if we had been here a couple of 100 years ago. The name of this street, Brasenose, comes from a college that's going to be on our right in a moment. Brasenose College, which is a very strange name. And it comes from the word brazen nose, which meant a sticking out nose. And it referred to a big door knocker. That was how people gained entrance to the college when it was first there about 600 years ago. And the college, I don't know what its original name was, but it became known by the name of this sort of big metal door knocker that anyone wanting to get admittance would have to use. But it got stolen, and they had to have a new one made. And then hundreds of years later, the original one turned up mysteriously at a school in Lincolnshire. And eventually, I think they did manage to get it back. They kind of ransomed it several hundred years later from the school where it had turned up. So we're about to be in one of the most iconic spots in the city of Oxford, and that is Radcliffe Square. And it's partially lit up, but we can see partially lit up. We've got St Mary's Church over there, the University Church, built in the 13th century originally. Isn't that beautiful? And originally it was kind of the headquarters of the university. It was always a church. It's still an active church today. This is definitely one of the dreaming spires of Oxford that the poets talked about. It was the headquarters of the university in the sense that the council that ran the university used to meet there. Lectures used to take place there. University ceremonies like graduations took place there up until the 18th century. The university treasury was in the crypt. The original university library was in the building. So, until the university grew to a size where it would be, they could have separate buildings for all of these functions, St Mary's played that role. And these days it's just a church. It's a parish church. Still has strong links to the university, and also has a lovely little restaurant and cafe within the building as well. If you're coming to Oxford and you want to change from all of the the chain restaurants that you find on the main streets, this is one of the independent places that I would recommend. Also, another place where you can go up the tower. You do have to pay. I think they charge you £5 to climb up there, but you do have fantastic views from the top of the Tower of St Mary's. Isabel, it reminds you of the Canadian Parliament building. Okay, well, I'm not familiar with that, but it could well be. I think a lot of places building parliaments and like town halls and these kinds of things in the 19th century, they kind of threw back to medieval times when a lot of great cities and institutions were created and the style of architecture was Gothic. So when they were trying to recreate those kinds of things in the 19th century, they used a similar style. That's probably why that might be a sort of a link there. So here in the centre, the Radcliffe camera, not a camera like I'm filming on. Camera, the Italian word for room or chamber. And this was founded as a reading room. It's part of the university library, the Bodleian Library. And it is fantastic reading room. It's a library founded specifically for medicine and the natural sciences, with money donated to the university by a chap called Dr. John Radcliffe, who died in the early 18th century, 1714, in fact. And he was a very wealthy man, left a lot of his money to the university and to the city of Oxford. So the main hospital in the city is named after him. There's the Radcliffe Library, which is the main science library of Oxford University. And most famously, this beautiful domed Baroque building. We don't have a lot of Baroque architecture in the UK, really, compared to countries, in Central Europe, for example, or Italy. But this is one of them by James Gibbs, who was one of the leading Baroque architects of the mid-18th century. You can't really see the dome. It's a little bit too dark. Well, Chris, that is a fun fact. And it looks a bit like St Mary's Church, and they started building it on this day in what year? 1859. How cool is that? Thank you for posting that. That's a great fun fact. So in front of us, the complex of the Bodleian Library, named after Sir Thomas Bodley, who was a academic here and a very wealthy man also, who left his own extensive library and a big donation to extend and restore the medieval Oxford University Library. So around some of the rooms of the 14th century library, in the 17th century, with Bodley's money, they built this amazing complex of buildings which are known as the Old School's Quadrangle. The quadrangle is the Oxford word for a courtyard. And this has got a beautiful Christmas tree inside it, and the rooms are lit up nicely. The rooms these days are university rooms. They're used for teaching, for meetings, conference facilities, and so on. But originally, all of the different academic departments had their headquarters here within this courtyard or quadrangle. So that's why it's called the Old Schools, because the faculties were called schools. and they have the Latin names above the doors. So here, for example, the Faculty of Music, Schola Musicae, and School of Astronomy and Rhetoric. They don't seem to go together too well. I can't, don't seem to be very related as subjects. But the thing about the use of Latin was the academic language in the medieval period, and it was used for teaching and all kind of academic study. And what it meant was that it enabled academics in different countries to share knowledge. Because if you were a professor of mathematics in England or France or Italy or Germany, if you would be using Latin, and that meant that you could go and talk to other academics and read what their papers they were writing, and it helped to spread knowledge and to create sort of that development of scientific knowledge in the late medieval and early modern period that we think of as the Enlightenment, the Renaissance and into the Enlightenment. So let's get out of the bottling. I didn't think the Old Schools Quadrangle would still be open at this time, to be honest. We're very lucky. A beautiful vaulted ceiling. And another fantastic college building ahead of us. This is Hertford College. And Hertford College has two sections to it. This is the older section. And then they have a newer section, and linking the two together is one of Oxford's most famous sites, and we'll go and take a little look at it. It's not very well lit, actually, or certainly wasn't when I walked past on my way to start the tour. I was trying to sort of see, but a lot of places, because of all the issues with energy costs and so on, a lot of places where important and famous buildings would be spotlit at night, they just aren't doing it because, it's just conservation of energy. But this bridge, I'm going to walk past it and look back because it's actually, the lamppost is on the other side, so we get a lovely view of it from the other side. It's a little bit better. So its official name is Hertford College Bridge. There we go. But nobody knows it really as Hertford College Bridge. Everybody calls it the Bridge of Sighs, after the bridge in Venice, of course, although actually it doesn't look so much like the Bridge of Sighs. If you're going to be comparing it to a bridge in Venice, I think it looks more like the Rialto Bridge, but looks very old, but it's not actually that old. It was built in the 1920s, so it's less than 100 years old. I mean, still pretty old, but and it links the older section of Hertford College on the left with the newer section on the right. And a beautiful building it is, and it looks lovely illuminated with that the lamp next to it, which of course originally would have been a gas lamp, but these days electric light. Bridge of Sighs, Mark. S-I-Z-E. Yeah. S-I-G-H-S. Bridge of Sighs. All bridges are of some size. Some are big, some are small. Look back along the side there. And, they've very kindly covered up the lovely Clarendon building. But actually, they've not covered up all of the Clarendon building, as I discovered earlier. There's a little bit that we can see on the front. So here we get to see the beautiful Clarendon building, another 18th century building, 1711, and it was built to be the headquarters of the Oxford University Press. So the university's publishing house, which published academic textbooks, atlases. Also, the reason it needed to move from here to much bigger premises, or one of the reasons, was that they, for 200 years, had the contract to print the King James Bible, which obviously is the most printed and sold book in the history of books. And the Oxford University Press were the people who had the contract to produce it. So the Clarendon building these days still belongs to the university, but it's used by the university just for admin purposes these days. So we're on Broad Street, and a little bit like High Street. A lot of people call this the Broad rather than Broad Street, just as they call High Street the High. But Broad Street, it is quite a broad street, I suppose. Broad Street was a street that was built up largely as it is today in the 18th century. It was outside the medieval city walls. And so some of the colleges built here, slightly later colleges built here, or they built new buildings here if they were old, already had places inside the walls, because there was more space and land became available. The High is broader, yeah, it is, but more traffic as well. So here's another of the most beautiful, iconic buildings of Oxford. This is the Sheldonian Theatre, named after a man called Sheldon, who was the head of the university and commissioned it. And the man he commissioned to design it for university ceremonies and graduations was a man called Sir Christopher Wren, one of our most famous architects, who at the time hadn't yet become a full-time architect. He was a professor of mathematics here at Oxford. But he later discovered that there was more money and prestige in being an architect and builder of things like St Paul's Cathedral in London, and became a full-time architect, one of our most famous in history. So that's where the graduation ceremonies for Oxford University take place, for those students who are fortunate enough to get a place here and make it through their degree programmes. One of the best-known bookshops in Oxford there, Blackwell's. Started life as a tiny little shop here with, you could fit in about 3 people. Nowadays, they've got about 8 or 9 branches throughout the city. Their main branch has 5 floors of books, including on the lower ground floor, the Norrington Room, which stretches under all of the buildings about up to there. And under the road is the biggest room of books for sale in the country, the Norrington Room. Yeah, it was originally family owned. I mean, now I'm not sure if it's still family owned. They are quite a big business these days. And, it's the festive season, and that is being recognised in various ways. And here's one of them. Here's a lovely menorah. John Thomas's favourite shop, I can imagine. So, beautiful menorah here, and celebrating, of course, the Hanukkah. And full lit so far. As I was walking through here on my way to just walk through the route to check out the tour, there was a guy up on the platform thing, the hydraulic platform, lighting the next one up, making sure they had the right number of lights. But they're a bit sort of outshone by the surrounding lights. I'm going to head along here. I love this little seating area that they've made here out of sort of old delivery pallets and things. They sort of used old packaging and things and repurposed it as a lovely little place to sit in the centre of the city, particularly nice in the summer, but I'm sure very welcome for people who want to take the weight off their feet after some serious Christmas shopping. And so I can't remember who it was asking about solar lights. There's not a lot of move towards it. I think just because, simply our climate is, solar power is really difficult to make viable in the UK. And, when it comes to sort of more environmentally sound energy, I think as an island, our sort of priorities as a country is more on wind power, and it should be more on wave power, but that is super expensive. So here we've got a college that's undergoing quite a lot of renovations. Trinity College, established in the 1450s originally, but it lasted about 100 years, and it was seen as too closely linked to the Catholic Church. So when we had the Reformation, it was closed, and it was refounded as a Church of England college in the 16th century. Hello, Liam. Nice to see you here. Maybe your old stomping grounds in Oxford, I believe. So, fantastic college building just lit up. Enough, I think. Beautiful. This is Balliol College. And this is kind of the 19th century reconstructed Balliol College outside the medieval walls. Balliol's original site was in medieval Oxford because it was founded in 1264. It was one of the oldest three Oxford colleges. But they kind of had new endowments, new investments in the 19th century, and they built these buildings, which is the main site of the college today. What college was Liam in? Liam, what college were you in? Because Somerville. Oh, okay. That does feature on one of my Oxford tours, but not this one. Because I was just going to say who's the most famous alumnus of Balliol College, and obviously Liam, if this had been your college, it would have been you. But probably the most notable that we think of in recent times is a certain Mr. Boris Johnson. This was where he was when he was an undergraduate here. Yep, you did. You had Margaret Thatcher in Somerville. She's the one I usually mention when I go to Somerville. And the tour where we had the horrific rain that killed my previous phone, it was in the entranceway to Somerville College that I sheltered for a little while but not for long enough. And outside Balliol College here on Broad Street is where we have the Christmas tree and this lovely illuminated reindeer. If that's one of Santa's reindeer, I'm going for Prancer. Or maybe Dancer. Just looks like it's in that kind of pose, doesn't it? That is where we are going to end, and with this lovely view of the Christmas tree in front of the lovely college building. I hope you've enjoyed seeing. It's not Rudy, no, absolutely not. Could be Dancer or Prancer, I think, Donna, definitely. So, hope you've enjoyed this little stroll around Oxford and seeing the city lit up and just in it. I think it's nice to see cities different times of year, in different lights. You get a different idea of the city, and you get to see slightly different places, and I can tell you slightly different stories as we go around.